Oh man, what a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Sunday the 26th of July. Been out here for about an hour working on the ladies, and I thought, hey, you know what? I ought to share what I'm doing with my cannabis community, my friends. Yeah, this is Joe D coming to you almost live from the outdoor studio, I call it, the City Grown Studio. This is called Growing in the City. It's an educational series and a story. It's all about a story. So some of you might know, if you've watched the other videos, maybe you should go back and check it out. There's some nuggets of gold in there. I say those are nuggets you can spend for a lifetime. But anyways, there was a group of these feminized plants, these ladies. They needed a home, and I volunteered. This was the first group. There's 4 plants that showed up. A friend had a challenge because the location he wanted to grow, well, no bueno. It's not going to work out, and I said, you know what, I'll help you out. I had no plans of doing an outdoor grow this year, but here I am. The sacred plant finds you. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, enjoying that beautiful sunrise just starting to come up over the horizon. The plants are beginning to wake up, the sun's shining on them, and they'll start to drink probably within the next 2 hours. Just, hey, fun fact, it takes about 2 hours for the plant to wake up, and then it starts to absorb the moisture in the lower section and any of the microbes that are working in the soils and making nutrients available, and basically the plant starts to uptake it, and through transpiration it comes up through the cellular structure of the plant and out through the leaves, and underneath the leaves are pores called stomata. Yeah, it helps the plant regulates the plant for its breathing. So basically, let me see if I can get a nice leaf for you guys to see. There's some nice ones over here in the sunshine. But basically underneath the leaf, I just roll it in between my fingers and spin it over. There's pores, and obviously you can't see them without a telescope. I'm not a telescope, a microscope. Those pores regulate the plant's breathing. It lets out oxygen that we breathe, and our breath, our carbon dioxide, the plant takes in as a food source. Yeah, it takes in carbon underneath the leaves. It lets out moisture, lets out oxygen, takes in carbon dioxide. For growers that do indoor growing, we like to enhance our grows with CO2 injection. So we'll add that CO2 to enhance the growth of our plants. So we got a bunch of things to talk about today. This was the second group that found me. These ladies said, hey, we need a home, we're orphans. And I'm like, all right, come on, get in the car, let's take a ride. Here we are in the yard. And then there was another group right over there. We'll talk about those in a minute. And we're going to say, oh, those showed up too. We're going to talk about transplanting that. So stick with me. If not, come back and watch the video a little bit later. There's Nala. She's out in the backyard. She's inspecting and checking on things. She's like, what's going on out here? So I have a couple of attack dogs that come out. They have free range to come out through the dog door. It's all fenced in. And I pity the fool. Oh, there's the other guy right over there. Yeah, there he is. He's on guard. And he's a fast little bugger, man. He'll sneak up on you. So be careful. Don't be coming here at nighttime. They hear everything. Just saying. We have some protections. And then, of course, there's always the wireless hole punches that we like to have, because we like that Second Amendment. We certainly do. So don't steal my shit. Anyways, now that threat has been put out there, I'm just kidding, guys. I like to have fun and laughter when I'm teaching. But anyways, let's get into what I'm working on today. So first off, I'm preparing. You guys followed along. I did the low stress training with the bamboo stakes. I stuck them in, and I tied off some of the branches, pulled them out. But now I've got to prepare for what's coming. So right now we're in the early pre-flower. You can see some of these ladies. Let me zoom in a little bit. You'll see the little white hairs. Some of them are starting to turn brown. Yeah, when you see up in those little, I call it the peace sign, you know, when you see the little white hairs coming out, that's the early signs that the plant is trying to find some pollen, hopefully in the air, so that it can get pollinated. But sorry, ladies, I'm not going to do that this year. This is, we're growing sin semilla. That's Spanish for without seed. So they figured it out. All right, so you can see that little hair that's starting to turn brown. That means it's no longer viable to capture pollen and create a seed. So anyways, what I did was I'm tying these off with, this is twist tie. Let me see, I got some in my pocket. I want to show you. So you can buy this pack. This is a double pack. Now, I'm going to caution you. When you're using this, if you're new at it, don't pull that out really fast. Go slow, because if it gets bunched up, you'll have a rat's nest inside and you'll be very frustrated. So pull it out slow. If not, get the single chambered one, not the double chambers. So I've learned that the hard way several times. Now it has a built-in cutter right there, so you can actually just put your wire in it and squeeze it, and it snaps it off for you so that you can cut your to length that you need. So basically what I've done here is on this particular one, I've put 2 layers. I have one wire here wrapped around and going around, and then the top layer. Now I left it purposely in the lowest section a little bit loose for you guys, so you can see that it's going to have a lot of flexibility in it. So it's real simple to fix. Here's a trick I learned: just take it and twist it. Just take your fingers like this and twist it. And once you have a little twist tie, a little hard to do with one hand, but you get the point. Watch. All right, so that just tightened up the line all the way around just by doing that. Now this gives me an anchor point. If I have a lower branch, I can actually tie it off. So basically what I did, I put these lines up here. It creates like a cage. So as the flowers get developed and they get heavy and they start to hang or anything tips, or the other thing that you have to be aware of is when we have storms. So later in the season, it'll probably be more like September, late September. We have a tendency to get some potential storms coming through because of the weather changes, and I don't want these things to get ripped apart. So I'm basically making a little cage, and it's an inexpensive way to do that. Bamboo poles are not that expensive. Same with this wire tie. It's inexpensive. So one of the things that I look at when I'm doing a grow is how much is it going to cost me? How can I do it conservatively? So, you know, I'm on a budget. I don't want to blow a lot of money. And I know some of the audience, they need this medicine, and they got to figure out how to do it. And, you know, maybe you're tight and resources are tight. So there are ways to do it. And when we get over to that section, I'm going to show you techniques that I've discovered over the years of doing things inexpensively. Now, sure, if you got a lot of money and you can just go spend and buy the things you need, cool, all power to you, man. But some of us are like, hey, let's do this conservatively. I don't want it to cost more when I could have just gone down to the weed factory. I call it factory weed. Go to the weed factory and buy some of that stuff. But personally, I've never been in one. Hadn't had a need, because Jeff, the rock star from Colorado, showed me how to do this many years ago. It was actually 1987. The 80s, man, what good times that was. Amazing. Some of you have never experienced that. Some of you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, and I love the comments from everybody, you know, adding their 2 cents in and their knowledge. I really appreciate that. And I don't say that I have all the answers. I just have a lot of bruises, you know, and I never gave up. I never quit. That's the only time you lose in life. When you give up, you quit. And I'm not a quitter. And believe me, I've had all the challenges, from all the different bug problems, mold problems, losses, storms, breakage, I mean everything. I've had it. All right, so back to the story. So we've got the caging up here, and these are up high so that I can actually, if I have a branch, like if this branch starts to sag down, I can tie a little wire tie to it, hold it up. And if I can add a little lift to it, the plant will put more weight on it. And what I'd like to show you an example. Over here on this bag here, I put a belt on it. Because of this particular structure, this plant was a little bit, spindly type, and lots of branches everywhere. So I needed an anchor point, so I put 2 slices. I put basically belt loops all along this bag, and I put this wire tie. This will stay here for several years because I'm going to reuse the soil next year. That's the other thing. When you first get started, there are some investments and some expenses, but there's some conservative ways that you can re-amend this with organic material and re-amend that soil and get it fresh again and put back in what the plant took out to build the structure. Yeah, so you don't waste a lot of money next year. So the first year is usually, you know, you got to spend a couple bucks. But you can see this is an anchor point to pull down for low stress training. You can see we have a pull down right here. That's going right to this branch, and it's pulling it out to get that low stress training to get more light into the inner canopy of the plant. Now the opposite of that is to put a wire way up high. And now I have an anchor point. So when I have branches that, you know, like say this branch gets heavy and starts hanging down, well, I can tie it off and help hold it up. So it's the reverse of the bottom. Bottom is to pull it down, the top is to pull it back up, but I'm also building a little cage to hold it together. Now we're about to approach the stretch period. If you don't know about stretch period, all right, so when the light cycle changes to more of a flowering light cycle, which it is, after June 21st, all right, I'm in New England, in the northeast of the United States, on the East Coast. For those of my audience that are in South America, some of you might not know, I have a project up in the mountains of Colombia, and Medellin, Colombia. There's the dogs. They're on point, like they heard something. And they're like, what do we hear? See them? I love these dogs. They're like, okay, what's going on? Oh yeah, look. They heard a noise and like, is it a squirrel? What is it? Look, one's looking for the signal from the other. Like, okay, what do we see? Is there someone behind the fence? No, it's most likely a squirrel. They love chasing squirrels. Anyways, back to the subject matter. Squirrel! So what I'm doing here is I'm tying off to create a cage system. I'm adding extra stakes as needed, and not every plant has the same exact structure. So again, I like to have 2 layers, 1 layer here, 1 layer here. That acts as my holder, so if the buds get heavy, we have a place to hang on. All right, so things are looking good with these ladies. I may have to thin out a little bit, so this one gets really crowded. You can see it looks beautiful, but I already know the future because I've been here. I rode this train a few times. When you've ridden the train, you go like, wait a minute, down inside here, it's gonna be super dense, and this is gonna be a ways, so I'll have to get in here and clean up a lot of this undergrowth, because that undergrowth is not gonna turn into anything fruitful. It's not gonna get big buds. It's gonna little tiny larvae things that you probably won't want to do anything with, and it's a potential mold because there's not enough airflow is going through here. You can see this is, I don't know, about 7:30 in the morning. You can still see the dew on the leaf surfaces. Let's zoom in. See all that dew? So you can sparkling in the background there when it's out of focus. That dew, that water sits there until the sun, helps to dry it out. That's a challenge point. That's a risk. And we haven't even got flowers yet. So when these things start to thicken up and get dense, guess what? You got warm days and cold nights, and inside the flower is going to be moisture. This is really, really critical. So pay attention, and if you're interested in learning, stay with me, because through this educational series, what's up, buddy? You checking on things? Don't be pissing on my plants. It's okay if they do. It's just urea, which is nitrogen, as long as it's diluted. But anyways, back to the subject matter. What will happen is you'll end up getting moisture in there, and there's products we can use to reduce the risk. It doesn't mean it's going to save you 100%, and that's why it's important to choose genetics that are good for outdoor growing in the New England area. So try to source your genetics from a reputable source, whether it's through clone or anything like that. So stay tuned for that. I'll be releasing my clone business soon, so you'll be able to see it. So yeah, that's coming up soon. That's city-grown clones. You'll see the announcement when that goes up. But anyways, we'll have all sorts of genetics available. But you'll want to look for genetics that have that resistance, mold resistance, especially in New England growing outdoors. Now keep in mind, because I know someone in the comments is going to go, hey, I didn't choose these genetics. They chose me. Some of them I probably wouldn't do in the outdoors. Like this one I probably wouldn't do in the outdoors because it's just dense and thick. And we'll find out as we go through the season. I may have wins and I may have losses, just like anybody else. But I do have some information that you might not have on products that you can use to reduce that potential, change the pH at the leaf surface and stuff like that. But that's not today's subject. All right, these ladies are looking good. We got some cages on it. This was the second batch that showed up. And here, I want to show you guys something. This is important because at the end of the season, when you see me bud washing, I'm going to have some keyboard warriors out there going, hey, you're washing the terps off. Yeah, I already know that. Not all the terps. Yeah, water is a mild solvent, I get that. However, I don't want to be smoking any of this. Bird poop, okay? Yeah, it's mostly carbon, but calcium, I mean. But I don't want to be smoking that in my weed. And there's dust, dirt, pollen, there might be bugs. I've sprayed product. Now all the products I'm spraying are all organic. They're oil-based right now, a mixture of oils, which works very well to protect the plant. Look at this. Check this out. I want to show you something. This is why it's important to get in here and look at your ladies every day. You see that? That's a moth. So that moth is hanging out there resting, right? It was probably flying around all night long. That moth most likely is laying eggs somewhere on this plant. That's going to be a problem. So as soon as you see that, you know there's a specific product, I'm going to show you when we get over to the tables, that you should be applying to your plant surface, because of the fact that when those eggs hatch and the little caterpillars start working their way looking for things to chow on, I'm going to have a bacteria on this leaf surface that is going to disrupt the growth of that thing and basically kill it from the inside, doing it naturally using bacteria. So it's Bacillus thuringiensis subspecies. That's a long name. Basically, it's a bacteria that gets in their gut and disrupts their digestive system, ultimately. But these ladies were not structured the way I would, but again, they were orphans that showed up, and I just have to deal with it. Now, right away, I see something here that grabbed my attention, right? Look at that. So I saw that, just saw it now. Okay, there must have been a breakage here. I think I tested this the other day, and I didn't like how it broke. And I'm gonna probably have this plant tested, but it's starting to grow back a little bit. It'll form a knuckle. I'm going to leave it alone and see if it'll come back. But once I see sagging like that, that means it's not getting enough moisture. Probably because it's got to repair itself right here at the knuckle. But anyways, keep an eye on that plant. All right, so these plants are doing good. They have to be wired up. That's next. Now we're going to talk about this. This is the transplant. This is one of the first transplants of the next grouping. So the third grouping that showed up, look at that. It's right in the grow bag itself. Wait, what? Yeah. Certain grow bags you can use as, soil bags, I should say. Let me restate that. Soil bags can be used. Now, the Roots Organic Original, the 707, the Lush, they're all made as pleated bags. So the bottoms are pleated, and they do have venting holes at the top, but you'll have to put some at the bottom. But it's pleated for the reason that you can use the bag as a grow bag. So you can see it blends in nicely with the green grass and the backgrounds. I like that. They were really designed for guerrilla growing back in the day when you had to do guerrilla growing. That means hiding out in the woods growing your weed. So that is really cool that you have a bag that you can use as a grow bag. All right, that's through Aurora Innovations out of Eugene, Oregon. So I'm in the process of doing this transplanting of this next grouping. That was the third group that found me. They showed up. Let's go grab a bag over by the house. I just offloaded these just yesterday. So I picked these up at the grocery store. They're $19.95 a piece, which was a great deal, by the way. So I have several bags. I bought 5 bags. Let's just take one over. Let's go back over to the workstation here. And I'm going to show you some stuff here that you might find valuable for you and your grow. Okay, so here's the grow bag, and it's flat because we're stacked on a big pallet. So one of the things that I like to do, and you'll see that the bottom they're pleated, right? They're designed so that you can use it as a grow bag. Shut out of here. Yep, for real. Now, just give it a few bangs, and while it's all closed up and not open, I like to keep banging it and rolling it a few times to break up all the clumps inside, or begin the declumping process. You see there's a little tiny slit there. That's okay, and that'll be a drainage hole anyways. But what I'm going to do, this next batch is all going to be transplanted into these soil bags. Now, these are 1.5, and this is all organic. It's a beautiful soil. They're 1.5 cubic yards. Is it cubic yards they call that? Or is it cubic feet? I always mess that up. Let's see. All right, 42.5 dry liters, 38.6 dry quarts, 1 cubic feet. Okay, you'll see it at the bottom of the bag. I don't know if you can see that or not. There it is right there. So there's your measurements of what's in here. It's all organic, all natural. It's great stuff. You can always go and read what's in there. This is all good stuff. They make an excellent soil. I've been using it for years. Now, I've tried all types of soils. Trust me, I've used all of them that are available at your grow stores. But you can see it has a lot of perlite. The white stuff here is perlite. That helps with aeration and drainage. So when you start to get a thick root ball going on in there, you want to have that in there for drainage and for aeration, because you want air to get down through your soils, which the air that we breathe has a lot of nitrogen in it. They say somewhere around 72% nitrogen. Yeah, it does. No way. Yeah, it does. It's crazy. But this is really good soil. It's nice and fluffy. Does excellent. So again, when you're choosing soils, I like to look at the quality of the soil and the price of the soil. Because some of the soils can get expensive, $30, $36. I've seen them at garden centers where they're really gouging people. I don't know, over $40 for a bag of soil. I can't get myself to go that far. But hey, if you get it, you get it, you know. But it's usually because if you don't know, you don't know. All right, so that stuff's ready. It's all broken up. I put it in my little mixing bin here, which I got at the big box hardware store. That's in the masonry department, you'll find these type of bins. All right, so this bag is cut open and basically the sides are rolled down and it's waiting for a plant. And this is the plant we're gonna put in next. I have it up on, these are actually hydroponic buckets. I'm not doing hydroponic at the moment, but I'm not opposed to hydroponics as I've done it. It's fast growth and bigger yields, that sort of thing. But I'm using it to stand it up because it makes it easier if I can stand up instead of bending over. You know, your back gets sore after a while. But so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean up the bottom undergrowth, open this up, take it off, put it in the bag, backfill it with some goodies, and then put some cocoa on top. And the cocoa serves two purposes. Those are all covered with cocoa. And the reason I do the cocoa is an insulator to keep moisture in, and also keep the little dogs from eating the perlite. They think it's food and they smell the organic material I'm putting in there, so it attracts them. And we found one of the dogs eating it, and all of a sudden it's coming out in its shit. And it's like, oh yeah, we gotta get that covered now instead of later. So I got the cocoa. I got a good deal on the cocoa, by the way. That was $10 a bag. Normally these are 26 to 29 depending on the brand, but I did have a comment in the previous videos, and I want to address that because the viewer had a great point. Well, why don't you just use rice hulls? It's better and it's cheaper. Nah, it wasn't in this comparison. I did look at the rice hull bags. They were $40 for a full bag, and I love rice hulls, and I would prefer to use rice hulls, but everything is about, yeah, that's right, the do-re-mi, because it can get away from you. All of a sudden you're into this thing for $1,000. I don't want to be in that far. Maybe a couple hundred, I'm cool with that, but I'm using this. And the other point was, hey, it's got salt in it. Yeah, if it's cheap cocoa, but when you buy from a grocery store, most of the cocos have been triple washed. That means they've washed out a lot of the salt material. Otherwise, their product wouldn't work and nobody buy it. So it would be shit. It would just sit on the shelf and growers would say, hey, kill my plants because there's too much salt. All right, so salt will reduce the amount of nutrient uptake. It's called EC, electrical connectivity. And this is a low EC. It's already been washed. It's been buffered. Buffered means it's been pH. They use a calcium, put it back in. So it's pH adjusted. It's also low EC, and it says right on the bag if you go look at it. And I use that, and I've been doing cocos for years. And I've done straw. Some of you comment, hey, why don't you use straw? I've done that. I usually use straw when I'm doing a vegetable garden. I go buy a couple bales of straw. And the reason I use straw versus hay will have a lot of weed seed in it because they just harvest the field. Straw is neutral. It's excellent as an insulator for big, large garden beds, and I've done that for years. You'll see that in some of my past videos. But anyways, I do appreciate all the input and the support, because sometimes people don't know the whole story, or they didn't watch the whole video, and then they jump in on the keyboard and say, hey, here's my 2 cents. I get you. I feel you, bro. I feel you. I've been there, rode that train. All right, so today we're going to transplant these into the original bags of the Roots Organic Original. Excellent soil. It's just loaded with nutrients, and I can just pop them in there and water it. And I'm going to add a couple of the goodies in over here, but let me show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like in the bag. Let's get out of the shadowing here. So it fits in rice, beautiful, all original. I've trimmed up the plant. I got rid of all the undergrowth right up each one of these. There's a node. Those are all gone. Those are a waste of time because it's lower growth, it doesn't produce, and I'm driving the energy up to the upper section of the plant, where when we look at the bud sections later in the season, you're gonna see most of your production is way up in the top section, not in the bottom section. So you can see that's why it's called skirting, by the way. So you skirt it or you lollipop it. There's another term of bro science on the street. We called it lollipopping because that looks like a lollipop, because you got rid of all the lower growth. As you can see, most of those have been all tuned up, cleaned up. And then we'll do the same with this last batch. Now, and let's wrap up in just a minute. I want to show a few goodies. Now, a friend of mine who's another grower, he said, hey, I got this big bin of stuff. You want it? I'm like, yeah, free is from me, baby. So now I'm going through it and I'm going, wow, this shit's been around for a little bit. So I'm sorting through and going like, yeah, that's old. No, that's expired. No, that's no good. So a bunch of that stuff will go back to the we're gonna get rid of it basically. You know, so some of it can be used and some of it can't. And I wouldn't like. Man, I love EM1, effective microbial. I use this in my earth boxes, but I'm like, oh, and it's expensive too. I'm like, God, what a score. And then I went to the expiration date. I'm like, damn, bummer. Look at this, expired in 2021. No bueno. So yeah, there might be some, you know, some bacteria in there that are good, but it's probably pretty expired. And the other caution is if it goes anaerobic, not aerobic. See, there's two types. Aerobic is good, anaerobic is bad. And this is a lactobacillus. They make it usually from rice. You can get the lactose from that and make your own lactobacillus. Excellent stuff, but I'm not going to use that. That's going to get recycled along with that stuff. Those will all get recycled. There are a few things that didn't expire that are good. These all of these Emerald Goddess products, these are all good. Thank you very much, because these can add up, and if it's free, it's for me. Now these I'm going to check into. The Bud Builder 1000 protein concentrate. I got to do a little research on that. I'm not familiar with the product. Psycho, I'm familiar with the Psycho line, and this is a silica, which is a monosylic acid. Monosylic acid is readily available for absorption into your plant. But I also got a big giant bottle of it already, so I probably won't need that silica, but I'll keep it around so when I go indoors, I'll be using more silicas depending on my strategy. Indoors will be done multiple different ways. It'll be done cocoa and probably some deep water culture, some hydroponic growing in the indoors. I've done soil growing for years in the indoors, but again, depending on your situation, that means I've got to bring soil in and soil out, and I got to get rid of it. And you know, I don't want to have big piles of root balls out here. So most likely, and I'm focusing on the indoor this year for breeding. All right, I've been breeding for years and years and years. I'm making my own seeds since the early days because I had no other seed source. And I'm not calling myself a true, what would be classified as a breeder. I'm a pollen chucker. But I love to cross things and create something new. And I've made a lot of different unicorns and some really, wow, holy moly, did I do that? Yeah, so in a form, I'm a breeder. I just don't go to the nth degree for stabilization, which is important to stabilize the line. I don't need to stabilize, I just need to find that unicorn that's hiding in there, and then from there it's going to go to tissue culture. From tissue culture it'll go right into clone production, and if it becomes something of a desire for the market, then it becomes a commercially viable thing. All right, so silica, I've got that from SI28. Now here's a gift that Dr. Lynn gave me from Clintek. Clintek, she's a microbiologist and very passionate about microbes, and she knows a lot. Really, and you should watch the videos. I have an interview with her. I'll try to do a new fresh one for our new podcast with her, because her knowledge is, and she's not about selling stuff, she's about making these useful things. Now, I was using for years enzymes. Enzymes help break down organic material and dead root material and turn it back into carbohydrates and make it available for the plant for uptake. Right, so a grower years and years ago said, hey, using enzymes? And I'm like, what's that? And he goes, oh man, let me show you these products. So I was using Hygrozyme and then SLF 100. Great products, by the way. Great products. They're ready to go. They're enzymes. Add your enzymatics into your nutrient mix and your plant will love you for it. And Dr. Lynn, I said, hey, when I was asking these technical questions about it, and she says, well, that's a good product, but, I'm like, what? Here comes the but. She says, I have the Supergen. I'm like, tell me more. These are just sample bottles, by the way. I love free. Free is for me. Because I don't have to pay for it. I'm going to use it because it's very, very useful, and I've used this in the past. So, Super Janitor, she calls it. And she says, I call it Super Janitor because it keeps the roots clean. Cleans up the root zone, and it can basically, this bacteria creates enzymes. This is the source. So if you can have the factory that makes the enzymes, I'm all about it. If it's available in your grow store, if not, reach out to me and I'll get you connected with your grow store, and I'll get Dr. Lynn's product in there because she has some amazing products that absolutely are must. They will not, I won't grow without them in my inventory, because even if I have to pay for them, I have no problem paying for them. But this stuff works great to keep the root zone clean. This stuff is the silica, the monosylic acid with an iron complex. This helps the plant feed more. I can use it as foliar as well. So those are excellent things. And there's a few other things I like to add in. And I don't know if you recall, if you even watched that last video of mine, I was concerned about my pH pen not registering correctly, so I picked up some fresh 7.0 by Milwaukee. They make an excellent product, and it's very affordable. So the 7.01 and the 4.01 are the two reference points. These are stable at that number, so this calibration buffering solution. So I'm going to recalibrate it, and now that I have 7.0 on site, periodically I'm going to double check, and I'll just put a little bit in my short glass, and then I'll test it to make sure, before I go doing some mixes, to make sure it's actually measuring at 7.0. If it's not, then I could have an issue with this unit. It is a couple years old, and it may be time to get a fresh one. I don't have a second one. It's probably packed away. I have to unpack. And I like to have two personally, because I use one to test against the other. So if I think I'm having an issue, I'll use the other one. I'll use reference solution. But if I find out this is off by, you know, X amount of points, I got to be careful, because then all of a sudden your pH is out of range. And when your pH is out of range, when you're watering and feeding your plants, you'll see the deficiencies in your plant, or the lack of accelerated growth. All right, so a quick review. We've done the caging, the wrapping of the wire tie around the stakes in all the plant, at least those plants there. Those will get done next. Right now I'm going to focus on transplanting into the soil bags, these last batch. I'm going to do some cleanup and clean up the lower sections of these plants. Basically just, you know, a nice little sharp little pair of shears, and you'll have to make a decision on what you want to keep. Like this, I might keep this, but like little things like this, that's got to go, because those aren't going to turn into much in the future. So I'll just get rid of some of that lower undergrowth and drive the energy. See, I just got rid of that node, that one, and that one. So the plant's not, this is like a pipeline. I look at it as a highway, all right? There's a flow of juice, this flow of energy coming up, and I'm not wasting on these sites, and I'm driving it up to the top section. So that's one of the things I'll do, is I'll go through here and analyze. And you've done it enough, you learn. And this is the hardest part, guys. When you're going to cut parts right off of your plant, like, holy moly, don't do it. It'll turn into a pound of weed. Nope, it's not going to do it. Not going to do it. Just get rid of it, you know. So you'll make that decision. You know, I just do it instinctually because I've done it for so long. But just look at, you go down each one of the stems here and get rid of that lower growth, especially if it's overcrowded on the intersection of the plant. And keep in mind, I'll probably LST this, low stress training. I'll pull these down, and then these inner nodes here will drive upward. But we're getting closer to the flowering season. So a couple weeks from now, mid-August is typically when you'll start to see a lot of your regenerative starts, or your flowering starts, meaning the little pistils will start showing, the white hairs, the little groupings. And you'll know you're now going into the flowering cycle. So again, I just go through here, just cut these right off. These are little suckers, okay? It's kind of like tomato growing too. When you're growing tomatoes, you'll cut the low growth and you drive the energy up. So it looks pretty good. It's not too bad, but again, you get into the intersections in here, get rid of that little tiny stuff. That is not gonna perform for you to what you think it is. It's gonna be larvae, and it's gonna be just feeding on the nutrients coming up each one of these stems. So I just like to get those out of here. So you guys get the point now, right? Clean up your lower sections. Remember, the plant's gonna still drive upward. I'm probably gonna pull a couple clones off of this. I'll probably take 2 clones off of this one here, and then once they're rooted, then I know I'm all set with this one. But I have time. And it's this one's won't start flowering for probably another 2 to 3 weeks. So I'll let it go, I'll transplant it, it'll get some new growth, and I'll start topping, grab a couple of clones, and that's it. I don't expect big yields out of these plants because this is late in the season. You know, if I had started at the beginning of June, maybe the end of May, then I'd have a much bigger plant. I have bigger plants like those over there. And those were all started indoors, by the way. These were all started indoors, as a matter of fact. It's just these are smaller to bring outside. And you don't expect to get a big giant growth. I know some of you are going, hey, I'm gonna go grab a clone and then go stick it outside. You can do that and you'll get probably a nice bud. That's about it. It's just not enough time to vegetate. Anyways, guys, I hope you got a couple of nuggets of gold, and don't forget, that's right, you know the vibes here. Turn on the notification bells, the likes, the shares. Your share helps me share the knowledge. They shadow banned me on my Instagram. If you haven't been on the Instagram, you should pop on over there. I put a lot of good content up there, and you can see some of my finished work there. And I share a little bit more of my life in there than just in the YouTube channel. And yeah, definitely go check it out and tell a friend. And anyways, I'll see you soon. I'll keep you guys updated and keep you in, looking in the window of what I'm doing. And hopefully you can use some of these little nuggets to help you and your grow, and so you can get to your medicine and have your own supply. Like I like to say, if I give you a bud, that's awesome. This free weed is the best weed, and you smoke for the day. What if I teach you how to grow your own bud? Yeah, that's right. You'll smoke for a lifetime. That's right. And as always, guys, may those resins bless your bowl today. Peace, happy growing, and don't forget, sharing is truly caring. See ya.